I started off wanting to create an opal nail set, but this actually turned into like a watercolor opal-ish type nail set. But we'll call it a happy accident because I'm thrilled with the way this turned out. So stick around, let's create this nail set together because you won't believe how easy it is to do. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and we're jumping straight into this nail set. So I already have my tips all sized out. They're prepped and ready to go on my nail stand. So we're starting off by applying my base color. So the base color I'm going to be using for all these nails is the Doi Nudie White. You don't have to use this one, but you do want a milky white color as a base. I will say the Doi Nudie White, I find it a little bit sheerer, less color than some other milky whites I've used, but I kind of like that for a base color because I don't want too much of that color. I just want like that slight bit of color to my base. So I'm only going to do one layer and then I'm going to give it a full cure for 60 seconds. Once my gel is cured, I'm going to be using these neon pigment powders from iGel Beauty. I think it's set number 30. I'm not sure. If I can find this set, I'll leave it linked down below in the description. I'm also going to use this brush that I have from Orly. I like it because it's shorter and skinny, so it's going to be easier to press in the powders. So the powders are sticking to the tacky inhibition layer of the gel polish because gel polish generally cures with a tacky layer. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. So I'm just dipping the brush into the pigment powder. I'm using so little that I'm not even using the powder in the pot. I'm just using the powder that's in the lid, and I'm using the same brush because I'm being super lazy and I'm just wiping off the brush in between the colors on my paper towel. So there's no like pattern or I have to use certain colors. I'm just dabbing in, tapping in the powder like in random spots on the nail. I'll do a couple spots per color. I just want to make sure it's as colorful as possible because that's what I wanted to do. And I want to make sure that the entire nail is covered as well. So, you can use less colors if you want. I just wanted it really colorful because I thought it'd be fun. And then once I have the nail covered, I'm going to take this makeup sponge and I'm just going to dab in just to make sure that that powder is fully pressed into that nail. So it's really that simple. I'm going to do this to all the nails, but I'm only going to show you one more because I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me do every single nail the same process because it's a little bit repetitive. I really love this because you cannot mess it up. You can make it look however you want and it'll be this really cool, like fun tie-dye-ish type design. So even if you just finish after this and just top coat it, you would have really cool looking nails. But of course, I was trying to create opal nails, but I'll get to that once I get to the flake part, but I don't think I had the right flakes to get the look that I really wanted. So I may have to do a little more research to figure out what are the right flakes I need, and then I may try this again. But like I said in the beginning, in the intro, regardless, I still love the way this turned out. So here's how all 5 nails are looking after I'm done. And I like how each one of them is different. So they're very unique. So I'm just taking a dust brush and I'm dusting off any of that excess pigment powder because I want to clean it up a bit. And for my next step, I've got my Doi Basics Clear Gel. This is like a clear builder gel. And I just want to encapsulate that pigment powder. Don't mind me tilting the bottle like this. This is an almost empty bottle, but I wanted to use an older bottle that I didn't have to worry about contamination because it's almost gone anyway. So I was just trying to get like every last drop out of it. So I'm just applying like a medium-ish layer to all the nails because I want to encapsulate that pigment powder. I'm being very gentle with my brush and floating it a little bit. I don't want to just drag it through the pigment powder because that could disrupt it and mush up the colors together. So I just want to be a little bit gentle when I'm applying it. So I'm going to do this to all 5 nails as well. And then once I've got that on all 5 nails, I'm going to cure it for another full 60 seconds. I'm going to be using a couple different types of flakes for this set. So these two are from Manny Boss Dip Powder. They are Ember and Steampunk. Sadly, they are being discontinued, but they are on an amazing clearance on their website if you want to pick up these flakes. I also have these two flakes. These are from Double Dipped Dip Powder. These are the Aurora Chameleon Opal Flakes. They come in this set. So they all look similar, but they are a little bit different. So I wanted to incorporate a lot of different flakes because I wasn't sure what would work and what wouldn't for this opal set. I did learn. I don't think these are exactly what I'm looking for, but they are so beautiful. So I'm just using that once again, the tacky layer of that clear polish. So I'm not wiping off the tacky layer. I'm using it to my advantage. So I'm just dipping my brush. This is like a liner brush into the flakes, and I'm just tapping them into random areas on the nail. So I'm going to use like a bunch of these different flakes and randomly place them around the nail, and they're going to stick to the tacky layer. It was a bit messy though, I will say. I had flakes everywhere in my room after I was done, but this is really fun. So right now you can see like the different colors of the flakes, and they're just like easily sticking to the nail because flakes are really delicate and they break really easily. So they just stick really easily and lay flat onto that tacky layer. So I just want to make sure like I have a good array. I'm not going to cover the entire nail, but I will cover a majority of the nail. And then I'm just taking my gloved hand. I don't want to touch the gel polish, but I'm just pressing down to make sure all those flakes are laying flat on the nail. Here's how the nail set is looking after I finished applying the flakies to the rest of the nails. And when you look at an opal, it kind of has that milky type look to it. So I didn't want to just leave it as is. So I'm going in with my Doi Nudie White. This is the same milky white that I used as my base color. And I'm applying a layer on top of all the nails. And this is what I realized: I had the wrong type of flakies because it was just a milky white and it's a sheer milky white at that. I should have been able to see like those flakies pop through, but they really got dulled out and I couldn't really see the flakies anymore, which was a bit of a bummer because I would have expected them to kind of shine through, but maybe that's just an excuse for me to do some shopping to pick up more flakies. So I'm going ahead with the rest of the set because it is what it is. And then even though I couldn't see the flakies anymore, it still needed to be milkier, in my opinion, to get that opal look. So I'm going to go in with another layer of the milky white. But this time, I decided I wanted to make my final layer glow because how fun would it be to have a glowing opal set? So I have this like sheet of disposable palette papers. So I'm applying some of my gel polish to that. And then from Daily Charm, I have this white glow powder. So this is a mix-in powder. It's just straight glow pigments, but it glows white. So I thought it'd be really fun to have a white glowing opal set. So I'm doing probably like about maybe 4 or 5 parts gel to 1 part powder. You don't want too much powder because that'll thicken up your gel too much. Really, a little bit of powder goes a long way if you have a good glow powder. So I'm not really measuring, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. So I put just that little scoop of glow powder into my gel polish and I'm just mixing that in with an orange wood stick. And then I'll show you a glow picture at the end. And spoiler alert, it glowed so bright. It was so fun. I'm so glad I did this step because I was going to apply a layer of milky white, another layer anyway. So why not make it glow? So I'm just using a separate gel brush. I didn't want to use the brush that came in the bottle because that could potentially contaminate the rest of my bottle with glow pigments. And even though I love glows, maybe sometimes I didn't want it to glow, so I didn't want to use the brush that's in the bottle. I cured that layer for a full 60 seconds, and now I'm going to use that tacky layer once again to apply some more flakies because I didn't like that you couldn't see the flakies at all anymore. But I don't want to go too crazy like I did with the underneath layers, which honestly were kind of pointless. But I'm only going to use this one flaky. I believe this one is the Ember one from Manny Boss Dip Powder. So I felt like it matched the color of how the nail set was looking, so it wasn't too contrasting to what I was doing, which is why I wanted to use it. And I don't want to cover the whole nail. I just want to put it in like certain areas of the nail just to get that little bit of that shine, that pop of the flakies. So I don't want to go too crazy, but I do want to add back some of that dimension of the flakies. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the whole set as well. I should have been done at this point, but because I was getting more watercolor vibes than opal vibes, I kind of felt inspired to make this set a little more artsy, so I decided to run with it. And for my middle finger and thumb, I wanted to do a little bit of isolated chrome. And for isolated chrome, I do need a matte top coat. So you know this is my favorite. This is the Divac Zero Matte Top Coat. I'm going to apply it to both those nails and give them a full cure for 60 seconds. And for the isolated chrome, I want to make it 3D, so I'm going to use the Jello Zigzag Gel. This is a nice thick 3D gel. This is in the color clear. They do have other colors as well. And then I'm going to be using this Blanc Blanc Chrome. This is like a silver hollow chrome, which I thought would look really fun to have like that silver frame. And now I don't know if this step is necessary, but I find that it seems to work best is after I have my matte top coat cured, wiping it down with some isopropyl alcohol and a lint-free wipe helps the chrome not stick to the surface of the nail besides where I want it. So I always like to do this step because I don't want the chrome to stick anywhere besides where I want that design. So I'm taking the Jello Zigzag Gel, and I love that it comes in the tube because it makes it easier to do designs and you don't need a separate brush. So I'm just doing kind of like a scallop type of wavy oval around the nail. We're going to ignore the fact that the thumbnail is not center. I thought it was, but I can never get things centered. I'm going to do the same thing for the middle finger. I don't want to take up the entire nail, but I want it kind of like centered to those nails. Once that's done, I'm going to flash cure them. So I think about 20 seconds I flash cured. And now I'm going in with my eyeshadow applicator and I'm dipping into the Blanc Blanc chrome powder. And a little bit of chrome powder goes a long way. So I'm just using the chrome powder that's stuck to the lid. I'm not even dipping in the jar, and I'm rubbing that into where I have that Jello gel. So the chrome powder is not going to stick to the matte top coat. It's only going to stick to where I have the Jello gel, which is exactly what I want. Once I finish rubbing in the chrome powder, I do want to make sure that it's fully rubbed in because I find that for the first pass, the eyeshadow applicator is really good to make, to get that chrome powder in. But to make sure that it's as smooth as possible, I'm going to take the other side of my makeup applicator. I use this to press in the neon pigment powders. I'm taking the other side of that and I'm kind of making sure that I'm rubbing in the chrome even more, as well as it's going to remove any of that excess chrome powder that got on the matte surface of the nail. Once I've finished that, the gel is only half cured at this point, so I'm going to cure it the rest of the way to make sure that it's fully cured. To tie in the whole watercolor vibe of this set, I started channeling Bob Ross. If you know, you know. I was running with the Happy Accidents. And so I decided I wanted to do like a 3D flower on each nail. So this is the Ho Holy 3D embossing gel, the Golbo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I probably butchered it, but it's a really nice, like textured type gel. It reminds me of like oil paint type texture, but I don't want to go overboard. I just want a little bit of accent of these flowers. So I'm just going to do one flower on each of the nails and then cure it for a full 60 seconds. And by the way, the brush I'm using is the Leaf Gel Mini Oval Brush, which this is the first time I'm using it, and it is really awesome for these types of flowers. I'm finishing off my nail set with the Most Perfect Cuticle Balm. This is There Are No Mistakes, Just Happy Accidents from Scales of a Mermaid. I mean, it was really meant to be because I feel like that was the theme of this whole set, and it just went together so perfectly that I was giddy over it. Unfortunately, this is no longer available. This was a free gift with purchase with the Happy Accidents collection that released a couple months ago. But there are a lot of amazing scents available, and if you do decide to purchase anything, you can always use my affiliate code Genie10 to save 10% off your order. But that pretty much finishes today, Manny. And even though it didn't turn out the way I want, I kind of like how it turned out even better just because it wasn't what I planned. I pivoted and I don't know. I just really love this watercolor type theme, but you have to let me know what you think about it. So I hope this video is helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.